Hope you're doing well today, all around the world, across the Pacific. So good to see you here. If we have time today, I'm really curious how you've been putting Lojong into practice in your life. I think it'd be really cool to share what you've been doing with each other and give each other inspiration. So we'll see at the end if we have some time to do that, okay? So we're on class 5, the class in the middle, right? 5 and 6, and then we're about halfway done, right? We're halfway begun. Can look at it both ways. And so we're going to be continuing today with where we left off on Thursday, right? With the 7-point Lojong of how to develop a good heart. So let's jump right in. Let me open the chat, keep my eye on that if I can. It's not always easy. And share my screen. So we will start with offering a mandala. Let me see who's here. Irina, how about you? Would you offer the mandala, please?
Zashi puki jinshi mitok tram. Rira plinshin yedenge padi. Sange shengdu nikte ulvagi. Draku namdak shingla chuparchuk. И там Гуру Радна Мандалакам Ятаями.
And refuge in the wish.
Sangye Chudang Chokchi Choklam Lam. Jangchu Bardu Dakni Kyapsuchi. Daiki Jinso Gipe Sunamki. Drola Benchir Sangendro Parsho. Sangye Chudang Chokchi Choklam Lam. Jangchum bardu dakni kyapsuchi. Daki jinso gipe sunamki. Drola benchir sangendro parshok. Sange chodang tsoki chok nam lam. Jangchum bardu dakni kyapsuchi. Daki jinso gipe sonamki. Drola pinchir sangen druparshok.
By the power of the goodness that I do in giving and the rest, or we can say in listening and the rest. May I reach Buddhahood for the sake of every living being. Remembering why we're here, right? Thank you so much, Irina. So as I said, we're class 5, ACI 14, Lojong, so you know where you are. How to develop a good heart. And we are continuing with the Lojong Dunduma, the 7 points of developing a good heart. So you're going to get in this an introduction to one of the Kadampa Lamas who I mentioned before, and his name is Geshe Patoa, but Geshe Po. And we're also going to be introduced to a practice that you may have heard about called POA. And POA means to send the mind on. So we're continuing with the 7 points. We are going to be covering, we covered 1 through 3, and now we're going to cover 4 through 7. We reviewed the lineage and how these teachings were kept secret and why, until Geshe Chikawa decided that since he didn't know who might find them to be useful, he would teach them openly. Right? So let's do a quick review of what the 7 are. Does anybody remember the first one? You can just unmute yourself and say it if you remember it. Number 1, this is why we're doing a review, right? Is to train yourself first in the preliminaries. Right? And we talked about those, what those were. So if you don't remember, go back to last class. Number 2, anybody remember that one? After you do the preliminaries, like in our meditation, we do the preliminaries, and then what do? The main practice, thank you, Roxana. Yes, the actual practice for developing the wish for enlightenment, bodhicitta. So first we prepare ourselves and then we do it. It's kind of like making a meal. First, we have to go out and go shopping and get all the ingredients, and then we have to put all the ingredients together. And then we do that, and then we get to eat it, right? So the same thing goes for these 7 steps. And then number 3, learning to use problems as a path to enlightenment. Like, how do we think about what's happening in our lives? And how can we use it in our practice to have a good heart? So then number 4 is a whole lifetime's practice. It's not just something that you do for a few weeks or a few months or even a few years, but for your whole life. And that's where that's one of the things we'll be covering today. And then number 5 is the point at which one can say that they have successfully developed a good heart. So how do I know when I've developed a good heart? Number 6 is pledges to keep. And number 7 are certain advices. So those are all 7, and we'll be going through 4 through 7 today, except we're going to be skipping 6, the pledges, and you can read 6 in your reading. So that's to remind you of where we've been and where we're going. So we're on number 4, a whole lifetime's practice. Let's see. Jessica, could you read this for us, please?
What is this?
Thank you.
What do you mean? Ah, a whole lifetime's practice. The brief essentials of the instruction are combined within 5 hours. In the great way, these same five are the advices for sending your mind. Cherish the act.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
So they're the five powers. What are the five powers? Right? Well, the five powers. This word up here, this is Tibetan Topna, the five powers, and we've got five pictures here, and we're going to talk about them. So say Topna. Topna, it's a prenasal, the NG, nga. And top means, in this case, it means power. There's a thing called Topki men, and men is like, have you heard the name Menla or Enzakan? It comes into English as medicine, and it means herbs or some kind of concoction, some kind of mixture. Menla is the name for the medicine Buddha. So he is the doctor, or she is the doctor, because they used in the past, they used only herbs and combinations of those herbs to heal people. Ki means that which produces top. So topki men is another word that they use in Tibetan for vitamin, for vitamin. It's a topki men. It's a mixture of stuff to make you healthy, right? But here, the five powers, so top, power, refers both to five practices that you do throughout every day, an hour of your life, and the five different practices that have the same five names. But they are what is a POA practice. And POA means to send the mind on. And they are practiced, these practices are practiced at the moment of death, okay, to send the mind on. The mind continues, according to Buddhism, when we die. We just leave this body, right? It's like an old car body. It's all rusty and the steering doesn't work very well anymore. And the tires are flat and we're done with it. So the first one is, say, Pempa Gitop. Pempa Gitop. And this means the power to project something. So what does that mean? When you project something like this guy with a bow and arrow, he's sending the arrow out in front of him, right? So it means to make a resolution for the future. So you're sending a thought into the future. So this verb penpa, pen means to project something, like how an archer shoots an arrow, or how your karma throws your mind into the next life. So it means that when you first wake up in the morning, you decide that for the rest of this day or month or year or life, you are going to use this day well. So the first thing is, okay, I've got the rest of my life. I'm going to use this day well. Well, what is that going to look like? How do I do that? The number one mistake in our misunderstanding is looking out for me. Trying to take care of what you want before trying to take care of what other people need. Now, that doesn't mean that you don't take care of yourself, because you can't take care of others if you don't take care of yourself. But if we only focus on me and what I need, then this is the biggest mistake we make in our lives. All of the problems in our life, getting older, losing energy, losing friends, seeing others close to you die, having arguments at work, quite honestly, and it's depressing, are evidence of the failure of our spiritual practice. What does it mean? It just means basically that the way we're approaching things in our life doesn't work. So according to Buddhism, you can reverse these problems if you stop worrying about number one, me, and start worrying about other people. So the person who gives up their whole life and resources to help others will get healthier, younger, more intelligent, and enter another realm that is sacred. Giving up your whole life and resources to helping others, again, use what you have. Doesn't mean just giving it all away. Sometimes we can get extreme, and think, oh, I have to give everything up and give everything away and go live on the streets and not have good shelter and food. It doesn't mean that. It means share what you have. Use what you have to keep yourself healthy, to help others. Share whatever you have. So this is what this practice is about. So the key is giving up the approach to life of watching out for the things you need before you watch out for the things that other people need. And it's super difficult. It's hard. But as long as you continue the opposite behavior, you will suffer. And if you're suffering, it's a sign that you're doing the opposite of caring for others. So who's the real enemy here? It's our misunderstanding the world that is forcing us to cherish ourselves first. Right? It's pretty sad. So what do we do about it? What is this Pempagito? You wake up in the morning before you get out of bed, before you put your feet on the floor, thinking about what you can do to destroy this enemy in your mind. what can I do today? How can I react differently? What might I encounter in this day and who? And how can I bring my greatest wisdom and kindness to that? Right? And the only reason to teach this class is that your life is at stake. I know it's getting heavy, right? And it's not about being calm or able to deal with the crap in your life or being more friendly. It's to get you out of this life, to get you out of this suffering realm, to an enlightened realm, to that enlightened realm that we offered at the beginning of class. So if we can overcome our self-cherishing, you've got it made, right? And that is the only thing between where you are now and an enlightened realm. Self-cherishing has only caused your misery so far in your life. Even when we think we're helping others, right? A lot of times we expect something when we're serving another person. We expect something back. So every morning you wake up and you say, I know who my enemy is, and I'm going to devote my day to overcoming that tendency, which has not done me any good so far in my lifetime. I don't want to live like this anymore. I don't want to die like this. And I'm going after you, right? So before you even get out of bed, and that enemy thinks that you're still asleep, decide that you're not going to tolerate living with that enemy anymore. So that's the first of the 5 powers. The second one, say kompa gitop. So kom means to habituate. And we already know what top is, right? So this is the power of habituation. It is related to the word kom, to meditate, because you're getting used to something. What is it that we're getting used to? We're getting used to cherishing others first. So it means to carry the thought you woke up with throughout the rest of the day. So how do we remember to do that? We have these incredible opportunities throughout the day. Every time you change positions, every time you sit down, stand up, lie down, start walking, you can use them to remember what you're doing. You can decide that between now and the next change of position is the time to fight your main enemy. That's self-cherishing mind. The great master, and I know I'm not going to say this right, and the Vietnamese will probably maybe not even know whose name I'm saying, but we call him Thich Nhat Hanh in the West. He used every time your phone rang, right? Every time it dinged and you got a message, to use that to remember. Because it happens so much of the time, during the day, to stop before you answer it and remember. I'm not going to let my self-cherishing overcome me. at this moment. So this is a Kadampa trick to help us get used to thinking about what other people want and worrying less about what we want. So it's a little trick to get us to habituate ourselves to it. So the main job is to start thinking about what other people want and stop thinking about me so much. And I don't know, maybe I'm alone in this, but it sure hasn't helped me in my life. Every argument, every fight, every unhappiness is because I'm thinking about me. Check it out. Don't believe me. Check it out for yourself. See if that's true. And I'd love to hear if it's not true. I'd really like to be proved wrong. And I think the Kadampa Geshis would like to be proved wrong too. And so let us know. So Gompagitop, getting used to thinking about others first. How can I make them happy? And you know what's so cool about it? Is that when you make someone else happy, which we can't really do, right? But when it appears that way, it makes us happy. It does the opposite of cherishing ourselves. Just yesterday, I had a friend here who was helping me, and she put a lot of work into helping me, and I had a little something to give her, just as a thank you. And it made her so happy. And it was so happy to see her so happy, right? And it makes the world happier. Try, check it out for yourselves. So then number 3, say karpo, sabun, gitop. Karpo, sabun, gitop. So besides Roxana, anybody know the word karpo? It means white. Anybody know sabun?
Seed.
Thank you. Seeds, yes. Thank you. Yeah. So white seeds. And then we have the gitop. So white seeds refers to virtue, goodness, right? So this is the power of pure white seeds. Every irritation, and I have plenty of them, in our life is the cause of our aging and falling apart. It's kind of like low-level radiation. And we can reverse this process. What does it take to reverse this process? We have to collect powerful, good karma, white virtue seeds, the force of pure white seeds. And to do this, we have to find out what are the most powerful good deeds we can do. Because we don't have time to fool around with small good deeds, right? And we know that if someone is yelling at us, we should be quiet, right? So that's not our problem. We know what karma that would bring if we yell back. Our problem is what is the most powerful virtue we can do. So at this level, when we're working with karmic seeds, it's not enough to be a nice person anymore. Once we understand the amount of good karma it takes to change this very body into an enlightened being's body, we need to know what the most powerful karmas we can plant are. So we have to get into this art and science, being a scientist, of figuring out what are the most powerful karmas you can do. Because we don't have time to fool around with the little ones. So what is the most powerful karma that you can do in your life? Anybody know? Who is the most powerful object in your life? Yeah, to serve your Lama. Yeah. What does that mean, to serve your Lama? Does it mean you have to go and live with them and make them tea or coffee every morning? Is that what it's going to look like? It might, but you can't have a lot of people doing that, right? It would be like a circus. It's to serve other people. That's doing the work of your Lama. That is assisting them to teach the Dharma to others, to serve the Dharma. And it comes in so many different ways. It could be formal teachings, like Natasha here. She helps with organizing my teachings, which is she and Venerable Kadran, it's a great help, right? So it helps to spread the teachings, but it's not the only way to do it. Once you get the teachings and go out into the world and use them in an informal way, that is helping to spread the teachings into others' minds and hearts. That's how you serve your Lama, by taking care of others. Can they be there? Like Geshe Michael, how many thousands of students does he have? Can he directly serve every one of them, to talk to them about their problems or make sure that they have what they need? No, but we, as students of his, can serve people in our community, right? That's where our work is. That is serving our Lama. So most of this is mental motivation. You know, you may not be able to pay for someone's plane ticket to go to Kyoto or to Diamond Mountain, but it's the willingness to give away everything you can to make it happen. And that doesn't mean going broke. I want to keep saying that. Right? And of course, studying emptiness, studying the pen is the other great virtue. Doing Tonglen, another great virtue. Right? The second part of this is to figure out the ways to wipe it out. So say Sunjimpe, Gitop. Sunjimpe Gitop. Right? How to purify so this is to rip it out. How to purify your old bad karma. You keep a 6 times book, or maybe it's a 4 times book, or a 3 times book, but you keep a book of to rip it out from the heart. That power. To rip what out from the heart? Our self-cherishing. Right? So throughout the day, whenever a thought comes to you to get only what you want for me, now, I want. Okay? Destroy that thought immediately. Do it throughout the day. So there's a practice that I have done for many years that I'll share with you, which is for those of you who know Tonglen, right? We take it into our heart where there's a rose or a lotus and a diamond. And we destroy that negativity. So, you're walking down the street or you're talking to somebody and all of a sudden this negative thought comes into your mind before you blurt it out. Take it in and burn it on the fire of your wisdom. Take it into your heart and just see it go, right? Rip it out from the heart. Burn it up. And it's something there with you all the time. Take a little practice to get used to this new habit, which is, all it is a habit. Know that that fire of wisdom and love in your heart is there all the time. And just throw yourself cherishing into it and do the opposite. And then number 5, say Moonlam Gitop. Moonlam Gitop. So this is the power of prayer. And you're probably already doing this practice, but at night, just before you go to sleep, close your eyes and sweetly review your day of helping others to get the things they needed and wanted. This is part of our Tartuk practice. Right? And then you think about all the goodness that you did and helping others and understand how it's going to create ripple effects. And you go to sleep with those seeds in your mind, and they grow overnight, right? And you dedicate these actions to you getting bodhicitta, to you reaching the full wish for enlightenment, the wish to reach total Buddhahood. So normal bodhicitta is the wish to get other people to enlightenment, right? There's an ultimate kind of bodhicitta. And that's the direct perception of emptiness. So you pray for both kinds. You pray for both goals. And they're not separate, right? May I have the direct perception of emptiness so that I can serve every being in every universe to my ultimate capacity. And when you have the direct perception of emptiness, you will be fearless. And that's what Jigme means. You know, Venerable Jigme? It means fearless. Why? You confirm all the truths that Buddhism has laid out for you. Everything you ever heard in these classes is true, and you know it, not just because someone told it to you. You see your future lives. You know that you will soon reach enlightenment. You know that you're not crazy as well, right? These are the things that you will know after having that 20-minute experience of the direct perception of emptiness. And then you can serve people so much better because you have the tools. So do these 5 powers every day and do it secretly. Nobody needs to know that you're doing it. So Geshe Chikawa has given us this lifetime's practice. And then he says 2 more lines, and they're a little odd. So he says, the brief essentials of the instruction are combined within the 5 powers. And then, in the great way, these same 5 are the advices for sending your mind. Cherish the act. What does that mean, right? So there are 2 sets of the 5 powers. This one is referring to Poa. Poa means like to move, like when you move to a different apartment or house. It can also mean to deliver or send your consciousness at the time of death. And it's the proper way at the moment that you're going to die or shortly before that to move your mind to a better place. Most Poa teachings are very secret. But today's teaching is open, and it's very important. And it's said to be more effective than the other one because it's a practice. Well, we'll get to that. The other one requires some very special practice, and they're a little strange. And of course, they would be strange, right? You're trying to send your mind somewhere else at the moment of death. After we get through explaining this poa in the Lojong Dunduma, in the 7-point Lojong, they say this is the most powerful one. And this one, because it's open, you can practice it and you can teach it. So, what is it? We do the same 5 powers, projecting, Pempagito, the power of habituation, Gompagito, Karpo Sabungito, the power of pure white virtue, the white seeds. Sunjimpa, I can't do that. I have to do it on this hand. Sunjimpa Gitope, to rip it, your self-cherishing out from your heart, and Munlam Gitope. So you have to practice those 5 powers every day for a long time before you will be able to successfully do this poa practice at the moment of death. As you're dying, your mind is falling apart dramatically. And you will not be able to do some new poa to save yourself from projecting into a bad realm. You just practice it at the moment of death. You have to habituate your mind throughout your life. So poa, again, it means to send your mind into death. And with these 5 instructions that we will go over, the names of these 5 are the same as above, but the meaning is different. They refer to the practice of poa at the moment of death and can only be done if you practice the 5 that we've already introduced this morning or today or tonight. It's morning where I am. So what is the first one? It's again Pempa Gito, right? The projecting power. So what does it mean? I have to get some more water. On your deathbed, because you've been doing the other Pempa Gito, the projecting power practice, right? On your deathbed, you make the determination that you will not lose the wish to help other people. Why? So it's in your mind stream to take into your next life. You make this decision that you will serve others somehow. And if you can hold this thought through the death process in the bardo, it is the most powerful poa. So you plan ahead, you shoot that arrow as you die. But this thought will only come to you if you have been doing it for the rest of the life that you have now. every day, as many moments in the day that you have to do it. At least in the morning when you wake up and at night when you go to sleep, right? The second one, the power of habituation, getting used to it, power. Gompagito. So as you begin to be aware that you're going to die, you get yourself so used to this idea of thinking about helping others that when you reach the moment of death, you will be able to think this way, despite the pain and the hallucinations that normally accompany the death process. Why? Because you're habituated to doing it in your life. So you prepare yourself to die with the vision that you could be responsible for teaching people not to die and get to an enlightened realm. You will not be able to just turn it on, right? Some special practice at the time of death. It has to be something that you have habituated yourself to for a long time. So we have to get ready now. Time of death, it's too frightening. We can't wait. So you are so used to thinking about other people. You're so used to the dream, the vision, that I can be responsible for teaching other people how not to die and how to go to an enlightened realm. That vision will be in your mind as you're leaving everything you thought was you behind. And it's a beautiful and perfect way to do that. But I can't emphasize enough how important it is to start now. What was it? Start now and pack light and take off, right? Well, what about those pure white virtue seeds, the Karpo Soben Gito? Mentally, what this means is, before you die, my mother did it, before she died, and then when you're dying, give away everything you have, at least mentally. My mother, before she passed away, she asked all her family and friends what they would like in her house. And she put their names on it, right? We all know we're not going to take this body with us for very long, right? Maybe 90, maybe 100 years if we're lucky. So why not just give everything away? You can't take it with you. In fact, it's an obstacle when you die to have these attachment to your possessions. It will be very difficult because you're grasping to things or your body or what used to be. And it prevents you from transitioning more easily. It causes more suffering. All those things that you bought and wanted to make your life happier and easier, at the time of death will be obstacles. So hope that all sentient beings will be happily using your bank account and your house and your things, right? May they even use my body as I die and in death to realize their own impermanence. Happily think about that. Happily give up these things. Offer whatever virtue and good deeds you did for your lamas, the high lamas and the holy beings of the universe. They die cleanly, right? They let go of it all. So thoughts of attachment to your family, to money, etc., all of those at the moment of death will negatively affect what you see at death. You didn't know we were going to talk about death, right? So get used to giving stuff away. Somebody wants it? Here, have it. And then we find where we're holding on to stuff. And it's a really good practice to then look at, what am I grasping to? What am I holding on to? Why? Is it that important? And then number 4, to rip out, right? Sunjimpagi Top, to destroy your negative, like photographs, your negative imprints in your mind that have come from your bad deeds. It means to confess. Confess and clean out any bad deeds that you're aware of. In Catholicism, this is a really important practice, right? In Buddhism, it's an important practice. Recognize your downfalls, recognize your negative thoughts, and confess them, especially any vows you broke knowingly. You know how even in daily life, when we have something we know we did wrong and we don't admit it, how it kind of, it affects our life, right? It's like this black seed or this dark seed that grows, and it affects how we relate to other people when we've done something that we're embarrassed by or whatever. But if we can confess it, and if you're not able to confess it to somebody who understands, and it's really embarrassing, at least confess it to the holy beings, right? Clear your conscience. And the same is true at the time of death. And the most important thing is to believe that they are removed. So you get to disown any bad deeds you have ever done. Pretty cool, right? If you're a Diamond Way practitioner, at the moment of death, you should do what's called a dangju into the Sindur Kinkor. And if you know what that means, you know what that means. If you don't, you don't. Right? And ideally, you should do a new empowerment in the final hours of your death. The summer after I came out of retreat, a Dharma student and friend of mine was dying. And a group of us sat with him as he was dying, doing the Vajrayogini sadhana with him. And he had his prayer beads and was doing the sadhana as he was dying. And just talking to him and reminding him of all of this, his goodness in his life, and doing these practices with him. at the time of his death. So you have these tools then to help others as well turn their mind to goodness. And then the last one, prayer, Munam Gito. As you die, there's a special physical pain and it's going to hurt. And so you do this very special Tonglen. You pray that all the bad deeds and mental and physical suffering in the whole world should come into me and die with me. May they be done. So you even dedicate your death to destroying others' bad karma and pain. And when the pain of death comes to you, remember that. The last line says, cherish the act. And then you die like Lord Buddha. You try to lay on your right side with your hand under your head, thinking about helping other people peacefully. And you can not only do this for yourself, but if you're with someone who is at the time of letting go of their body, of this rental car, you can try to remind them of their goodness. You can ask them if there's anything on their heart that they would like to let go of. Right? You can remind them that they can pray to take on the suffering of the world as they die and leave it behind with their mortal body. So we have 5 powers for now, for our life, that when we're still alive, that we can use to help us and to help others at the moment of shedding this life, shedding this body. Right? They work together. A whole lifetime's practice. That was number 4, right? Of the 7 steps. So we're going to go on to number 5 now, right? We're filling up our toolbox, right? Hong, can you read this one? Hong Ne Hong, are you able to read English? No. All right, let me see who else. How about you, Valerie?
Thank you.
Yeah,
All karma
thank you.
comes. All karma comes down to a single point, and there are 2 judges. Keep the
Judges.
mind one and be joy alone and unbroken. It's there when you can keep it Thinking. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So we're on step 5, the point where you have developed the good heart, right? We're going to find out about that. All Dharma comes down to a single point. There are 2 judges. Keep the main one. Be joy alone in an unbroken stream. It's there when you can keep it unthinking. So the point at which we can say we've finished developing a good heart, it's what we're talking about. And it's when all the Dharma that was ever spoken all boils down to one thing: fighting our tendency to take care of ourselves and to ignore other people. All those scriptures boil down to one thing: to fight this tendency. That's what every scripture is teaching us. So that's the single point. There are 2 judges. Keep the main one. In the Tibetan, it says pangpo, which literally means witness. So there are only 2 people who can witness the success of your Dharma practice. The first are the people around you, generally speaking, right? You should be getting along better and better with your family and friends at work if you're practicing well. Of course, there are obstacles, there are old seeds that we need to purify that will come up, and they can come up powerfully when you're practicing well. So don't forget that as well. Bad internet. Well, there's not much I can do about that, sorry. Just let me know if I need to repeat something. So there are these 2 judges, right? Those around you, and they're a mirror of your practice. And then who's the other one? Yourself. You are really the only one who can judge your practice. So keep that one. Keep the main one. Don't worry about what other people think, and don't try to impress other people. Ultimately, only you can be the judge. If the inner judge is sensitive and satisfied with your progress, then you're doing okay. No one knows what you're doing personally, privately, in your own heart. You know if your mind and life and heart has sweetened and you feel more love inside yourself. And that's love for yourself and love for others, both, right? So at this point, the commentary says the main judge of whether something is the Dharma or not is whether or not it is helping to fix your negative thoughts. Your negative thoughts like jealousy, anger, competitiveness, or anything that helps lower your negative emotions, right, is Dharma. Your success will show up that your negative thoughts are getting less. And you are a happier person than you were a year ago. Then you can say you're succeeding. we have an idiom that says Rome wasn't built in a day. This great empire of Rome didn't happen overnight, right? You're working to get rid of 84,000 different negative thoughts that you've had for millions of years. And you can't get over them in one day, right? It's not going to happen. It's a process. It's a practice. That's what practice means. So be joy alone in an unbroken stream. This means that if things are going well, don't get too happy. If things are going bad, don't get too sad. Right? Karma doesn't work immediately, except for Diamond Way. So bad or good things that are happening right now are all being driven by things you did in the past. And things will probably reverse one way or the other tomorrow. So what's happening now isn't connected to your spiritual practice today. Sometimes that's hard to remember. You think, I've been practicing so hard, and all this crappy stuff is happening. Yeah, it's from the past. And you're planting seeds for the future. So over time, things will get better and better. Our deep karmic pockets cause negative things in the future. So don't get too excited about it. Don't get too upset. Just keep planting good seeds for the future and keep your joy all the time. And this, of course, is the hardest with the people who are closest to you. With your family, your dear friends, with your boss. Right? That's where the work is. And then the last line. It's there when you can keep it unthinking. The text says, think about someone who is just learning how to ride a horse. If they get distracted, which someone who's learning to ride a horse or drive a car, but that's more distracted because you're trying to do this and remember this and this, you'll fall off the horse. But an expert won't lose their balance when distracted. So what Lojong practice does, it boils down to reaction time. What is the lag time between a bad emotion starting and your Lojong kicking in? That's the measure of your success. When you encounter something that's irritating you, the time between when you first get annoyed and when you stop that negative reaction, as you practice Lojong, should get shorter and shorter and shorter until you stop anger immediately. We want to reduce this lag time so that as soon as we feel this little seed of anger, of irritation coming up, Lojong handles it, right? It ain't going to happen overnight. It's with consistent practice, just like a rider who has been riding a horse for a long time. The horse moves in an odd way, and their body just adjusts. They don't even think about it. So, the point where you've developed a good heart is the point where you can react immediately. The ability to adjust immediately is key. So don't get attached to your plans because they're going to change. New conditions might call for a different approach, right? Something goes wrong, you're already adjusted to it. Something goes right, you're looking at it and saying, yeah, maybe it'll be good, maybe it won't, let's see. I'm not going to get too excited about it. That's Lojo. Does that mean you just become like a vegetable? Whatever happens, happens? No, that's not what it means. Understand that things are impermanent. Understand that it's your seeds that are driving things. So when something goes wrong, it's like, oh man, I must have planted a crappy seed in the past to see this. Let's not plant that seed anymore. And when something goes well or appears to go well, let's see. Maybe it'll be a good thing. Maybe it won't. Maybe I planted a good seed this time. Let's see. Then we get off the roller coaster of our emotions. And then we become happier and happier and more joyful without having to go down into the lows of the roller coaster, right? The ups and downs. So we're getting close. Number 6, pledges to keep for developing a good heart. And we're not going to go into this too much, go over them. Keep to the 3 laws. Change your mind and stay the same. Speak not of what was broken. Never worry about what they're doing. Rid yourself of the biggest affliction first. Never hope for any reward. Stop eating poison food. Don't let the stream flow smooth. Forget repaying criticism. Give up laying ambushes. No going for the jugular. Load your own truck. No passing the buck. Don't get fixed on speed. Don't feed the wrong face. Don't turn the sweet angel to a devil. And don't look for crap to make yourself happy. So we're just going over this list today. You can think about them, right? And in the text, the Tibetan commentator says the 3 laws, keep to the 3 laws. The first thing are never acting a way that contradicts what you have committed yourself to, and never placing yourself in a dangerous situation, and never falling into the habit of discriminating between others. And we're going to talk about these more in the next class. But for now, we're going to go on to number 7. Certain advices for developing the good heart. Let's see who's here. Kudo, can you read the English for us? Did I say your name right?
Yes,
Thank you.
it's correct. Good teacher. I now do the most important thing. Don't guess it backwards. Don't guess on and off. Make up your mind and stick to it. Figure out both free yourself. Stop thinking all the time about how wonderful you are. Don't let little things get to you. Don't change from moment to moment. Don't expect anything.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
So act now, do the most important thing. It's all about what we've been talking about, crushing our tendency to watch out for number 1. That's what the first line means. Don't get it backwards. Now, this is a long story, and we'll talk about it in the next class. So you figure out both, right? And free yourself. So he doesn't say what the both are. The first one is to study the thing that got you upset in the past. Concentrate on the biggest one first. What is your biggest negative thought? You know, everybody has their own. Identify your own personal one. Yours and mine may be the same or may not be the same. You know, if you're living in this dream, in this world, in this realm, if you're not an emanation of an enlightened being, you have a major negative thought and you have to identify it. So study that thing that triggers your strongest negative thoughts. And a lot of times we're blind to our greatest negative thought, right? We can't see it. And everybody around us can see it. So if you have a really close friend, ask them what they think your strongest negative tendency is. We usually can see number 2 and 3, right? They can help us to identify it. So once we've identified it, then figure out the conditions under which it happens, right? Like when you're tired or hungry or too busy. At those times, our ability to deal with negative thoughts gets weakened. It's lower, right? So figure out the conditions under which it happens. I know many, many, many years ago, I was super tired and I had come home from work and shopping, and I just wanted to go and sleep in my own bed. And at that time, we had a television in the main room of the house, and I could hear it up in the room where my bed was. And I got so angry. I asked my family to, go somewhere else, and they told me to go somewhere else. And I just felt totally rejected, and that nobody was taking care of me, right? My self-cherishing, my need for it to be my way, how I wanted it. I didn't want to go sleep somewhere else. I wanted to be in my own bed, right? And I did not handle it well. I was like this 2-year-old having a temper tantrum, right? So when are the moments when our ability to fight our negative thoughts is weakened? And then think about why that negative thought is so sick, right? Which is what I had to do afterwards. Once I got some sleep and realized how poorly I had acted, right? And what the suffering that I caused other people. We're aspiring bodhisattvas. And to get angry or jealous like that, when someone else gets something that makes them happy, and we're unhappy about them being happy, negative thoughts are always indefensible, and dysfunctional. They don't work, right? And they plant so many seeds when we hurt others. We're not just hurting ourselves, we're hurting others around us. The second one is figuring out how to stop those negative thoughts in the future. So we recognize our largest one. And then we pick out the smallest form of that negative thought and design how you're going to avoid it in the future. Think about it. Recognize the trigger. When you see that trigger, there's your moment to stop it. So for the future one, you go for the smallest form of that negative thought. When that negative thought is arising in the moment, as Master Shantideva says, just stop and be like a bump on the log. You try and stop yourself somehow. And then plan for how, when that negative thought or trigger arises again, you're going to work on stopping it. You make a plan. Plan how to get rid of it. For the past form of that negative thought, you go for the biggest. For the future, you go for the smallest. Let's see, where are we in this verse? So we want to be free of these things. Stop So it says, figure out both and free yourself. So we just talked about the both, right? Now, to free yourself means you don't have to think like that anymore. It's as simple as that. Free yourself of thinking about that, thinking of it that way anymore. And then the next line, stop thinking all the time about how wonderful you are. If you're here in this class, you are 1 in a million. All of you on this Zoom call are extraordinary. Each of you has the capacity to become a major spiritual guide for other people, or you wouldn't be here. You wouldn't have the kelwa, the seeds, to be here. So every one of you has kelwa, or this core of goodness, of spiritual goodness in you, to become a very important person in the transmission of this knowledge. Right? So you should be thinking about how wonderful you are. You are wonderful. And a certain number of people here, probably at least half of you, will become important spiritual guides for other people. That's not what this line means. The point is that when you finally go out and do something to help living beings, don't get too enamored with yourself. Don't get too excited about how wonderful you are. Why? One, they really need you. Their own negative thoughts are literally killing them. And two, you took bodhisattva vows, or maybe you haven't, but those of you who have, you swore to help all beings. So what's the big deal? That you finally decide to help people? Don't get too excited about your activity. Do rejoice when you fall asleep. Do rejoice in the seeds that you're planting. But don't get all puffed up that I'm so wonderful and amazing because I helped somebody walk across the street. Right? Maybe they're enlightened beings trying to get you to act more like a bodhisattva. Possible? Don't let little things get to you. That's pretty explanatory. Don't change from moment to moment, meaning I'll help, I won't help, I'll help, I won't help, right? And don't expect anything. So don't expect anything. This refers to 4 things. Number 1, if you do spiritual practice, no one will thank you or appreciate your efforts. Like you could go to work for 15 years, 12 to 16 hours a day, commute 3 to 4 hours, whatever, and give all your money away to Dharma purposes, to people who need it, and still have people coming to you and criticizing you for something. Why didn't you arrange the last $10 for me? Did you notice I gave you $1 million over the last 15 years? Yeah, but I want to know where the $10 is, right? You can't get discouraged. Don't expect any credit. Don't expect any thanks. Don't expect anything like that. You know, it may not come at all, and it doesn't affect you because you know you have to do it anyway, and that it's your honor to do it, and you took a vow to do it. Nobody else needs to know that. The second point is that don't expect any help from others. You know, you could be trying to feed all your Lama's students or keep the meditation hall nice for classes and go to classes yourself. And someone says, why are the bathrooms so dirty? Or you could be scheduling teachers all over the world and making sure that the Zoom links are working and planning what's next and coordinating volunteers and translators. And someone like me comes along and asks, how come my class isn't posted on the website? We forget everything everybody is doing. And we think what is important is about me, right? So these kinds of things happen. And don't expect any help. Just forget it. You're a Lojong practitioner. You're like some secret spiritual kamikaze warrior, right? Whether anyone helps you out or not, you're going to do it. This thing called Laksam Namda. And it's very liberating to get to that point. Oh, I didn't know that you weren't on the website. Oh, I forgot about that. You accept it, you're kind, and you do something about it. So whether anyone helps you or not, you're going to do it. And I don't care if anyone thanks me. I don't care if anyone helps me. I'm going to do it anyway. It's hard sometimes. We want to be recognized. We want to be thanked. If we're not being thanked, where is that seed coming from? So don't expect the things. Plant the seed for it. And as well, number 3, don't expect anyone to say anything nice to you. Not even your Lama. You know, most likely people will say all sorts of things about us. We ignore it. We have to do what is virtuous, what is right, what helps other people, and not worry about those other things. And then the 4th point, don't wish for any fame or good reputation. Just help others quietly, privately, secretly. Doing the opposite ruins the whole thing. If what you're after is fame and a good reputation, it ruins all of your good deeds. And again, this is Laksam Namdak, taking personal responsibility secretly upon yourself. Geshe Chakawa, on his deathbed, said this, and I'd like to ask Roxana to read it for us, if you're still here. She's still here? Roxanne Bardou. I can't see everybody. Looks like maybe not. Anybody else want to try reading the Tibetan? Please, Hong Long. Please read it for us.
Thank you, teacher.
Thank
Nga
you.
xem chén tham chế khí đun thù phun thù mar men mê
Narme.
ma mê thủ chô war mun par chế kyang pin chô war đặc
Tuk.
đục thạc sinh khí nang war sa chung.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, lovely. So that's in Tibetan. In English, he was on his deathbed, Geshe Chikawa, and his students were surrounding him. And he's saying, I can't go there. And his students are concerned and they're going, what are you talking about? And he says, it's not working. What's not working? I was praying that I could pass on to the lowest hell for the sake of every living being, and it's not working. I can't go. All I can see before me now is the paradise of enlightenment. So, obviously, Geshe Chikawa was carrying out his own advice and performing the practice of transferring his consciousness, POA, in the tradition of the greater way that we have just gone through this today. And if you're interested, let's see, here, Semchen means sentient beings. Where's my cursor? Tamche means all. Key of. Dundu, in order to be of benefit. Narme means lowest, is the lowest hell, right? The hell of no respite. And come on, cursor, stop getting lost here. Can you see my cursor? Yes, okay. Where am I? Narme, du, Juawar means migratory. Munpar means to make a prayer. J means to, or to do. Kyang, but we had that word yesterday in mixed nuts, kyang. It can also be and. Mindrowar, I can't go. And then Dakshing, pure land of Gi, right here, Gi. Nanwa means it appears, Shar in the east becomes. So I was praying that I could pass onto the lowest hell for the sake of every living being. It's not working. I can't go. All I can see before me now is the paradise of enlightenment. So may we be blessed to practice a whole lifetime's practice. and be able, like Geshe Michael, on our deathbed, to pray that we can pass to the lowest hells to ease the suffering of those beings, and have that so deeply in our hearts that there are no longer any lowest hells in existence. So your meditation homework until the next class in 2 days is to do an analytical meditation going through the 18 pledges for developing a good heart and making sure you understand what they mean and choosing a few to apply to your own life each of those days. Okay? And let us offer this pure world we're going to create by doing our Lojong practice. And can somebody just volunteer? I don't have the list in front of me of everybody. I have to scroll through your pictures. Someone volunteer to lead us in the mandala offering. Please, Valerie.
Geshe Michael Sangi Roku Anga Chiva Chupa Sho Ila
Continue.
Gewa Di Gewa Sunan Yeshe Sogzog Chin Sunan Yeshe Kapat Kapar Sho
May all beings have a strong Lojong practice and reach the point where their Lojong practice is perfect. So thank you, everyone. Let me change my view here so I can see everybody. Have fun with your practice. Continue to have fun, right? And your toolbox is getting fuller and fuller. Maybe you need a new toolbox to put all these new tools in. Pull them out occasionally and have a look at them. And yeah. Thank you to all the interpreters. Thank you so much. Thank you to all the recorders. Thank you to all the background tech and administration. We couldn't do it without you. And thank you to all of you for showing up and practicing this. Yeah. See you in a couple of days. Bye-bye.
Thank you, teacher Gyelse.
Thank you, teacher. Please pray for us.
Thank you very much, Ven Gyelse. Thank you.